Yano, every yeah. Yano, every yeah. Ozambe, Ozambe, Ozambe.
It's a government project, and I think one of the main issues there, you have to be able to talk to different levels of people, interact with different levels of people. The minister, for example, you have to be very strong. You have to be aware of the politics of the project, and you have to be aware of yourself, what you represent to the project. Because as a project manager, the connection between the government and the project developers. So I have to be aware of that, and I always have to defend the position of government at all times. And that's one of the most difficult parts of the job. Integrity both ways. You know how in politics the ministers and the politicians can influence you, and also the developers who are actually foreign developers, but they're here to make money, they can also influence you. So you really have to always be on guard in terms of your integrity. And it's one of those positions where you have to walk that straight line. You know. That integrity was always present. I mean, from the mentors we had with Kodomate and all the teachers we had, they always taught us to do the right thing. I mean, it was always about doing the right thing. Even in the dorms, you always had to do the right thing. My name is Cyril Grant. Right now I'm a project manager for the Bumbuna Phase 2 project in Sierra Leone. I'm actually Sierra Leonean. I left Presec in '79, Form 5, and came back for 6th Form. As a professional, I'm a trained architect, studied in the US up till in the 80s, worked for a number of years in New York City, and then in 2014, I got this contract to come work with the government of Sierra Leone as the project manager for the Bumbuna project. Bumbuna Phase 2 is an expansion of Sierra Leone's hydro project, and I've been on that project for 5 years as the project manager during the negotiations. I came from what you would consider a privileged background. I didn't have to do anything, you know. And when I came to Presec, it was both a culture shock in terms of language, culture from Sierra Leone, and also a culture shock in terms of, as a young 11, 12-year-old boy, I had to become very independent very quickly and take care of myself, take care of my bed, take care of my shoes. And it's funny, those like tiny little things actually start grooming you to become a person of integrity. You know, you really had to stand up and be your own person. I think I went through different phases. I mean, because I started in Form 2. I mean, I had an experience. The reason I came to boarding school in Ghana for one experience, because in Sierra Leone I was going through some tough times with my mom and cutting classes. So she decided she was going to pack me off to this boarding school. And I remember when we sent for the papers came, and one of the most dreadful things that I saw in the application was I needed a chop box and I needed a cutlass. And I was like, cutlass? Am I going to be cutting grass? And so we eventually landed, got there, and I spent, I think, the first weekend crying because my mom had left and all of that. But very quickly, I started to make friends. One thing I liked about Presec was you had boys from all over Ghana. I mean, whether you were from Accra or from the central region or from the eastern region, everybody was there. And everybody in Engman House at the time, or even in your classes, everybody was friendly, and they made you feel welcome. I mean, they would tease you to death, But it was really quite an experience for me, feeling welcome and feeling that everybody cared about your being there. I mean, your friends, and there was competition, there was no question there was competition. But in terms of friendships, it was one of those places that to this day, whenever I meet someone from Ghana, or whenever I am talking about my formative years, I always come back to Presec and what it prepared me for. It's for me, that's the lodestone, that's the start. I had the opportunity to become senior prefect. For me, thinking through that whole thing was almost a miracle. Because here I was, a foreigner. I could hardly speak Ga or Twi, I ended up being very competitive academically. But to be able to get the trust of your peers and be voted a senior prefect as a foreigner was, I think, quite significant. I mean, up to this day, I have to pinch myself that it actually happened. I mean, if I go to Presec, I remember when we left, they actually had your name and your year and your senior prefect of that year on the board. And I think for me, that was quite significant. And I'll let you know that honor really carries you through life. In your back of your head, you're always trying to represent Presec because obviously, unconsciously, that's who you are. So having become senior prefect at that age has actually made me carry those qualities in everything I do. Academically, when I started, I couldn't do much. I mean, Dan Perry was one of my early friends in Engman House, and one of the first exams we had was in mathematics, and I ended up getting a 2%. And to this day, I remember that I showed him, he found my exam paper, and he said, "You pa, 2%. You came all the way from Sierra Leone, and you got 2% in math." He laughed at me. And it's from that time I decided, I was not going to be laughingstock anymore. And it enabled me to focus on mathematics, for example. And from then my light, I think, became brighter and brighter. And it was that incident, really, that actually made me realize that I could do anything. And it's funny, I think, having gone to Presec and after Presec going to college in the United States, I was not afraid of anything academically or in terms of achieving anything because everything was possible. Our light through the light of Christ and in God was always going to be bright. We had to trust ourselves to be able to function in this world. We all have life in us, but I think the light in us is in varying degrees of brightness, right? So I think what Presec did for me was to make me see the light in myself and in my peers. But it made me see that my light was valid and that it could become brighter. To become an architect, there's so many qualities you need, and I think having gone to Presec, it prepared me. And I found out that innately, because I was very confident in my abilities, right? At that time, I mean, come on now. I was very confident in my abilities. I was able to prevail, to finish the course very quickly, work in New York City of all places as an architect. I worked for a number of years, got my license as a registered architect in New York City when probably I was about 28 or so, something like that. Passed that with distinction, worked in an architecture firm. After that, got another degree in facilities management. And so, on the whole, without the basic building blocks of being a Lodade, being a Presec, I don't think I'll have confidence. I mean, it prepared me for all these obstacles. Everywhere I go, I'm proud to say I went to school in Ghana. And I always wait for them to ask what school, and I always want to learn Presec Legon. I know some people don't know where it is. They say, "What is that?" So well, listen, you have to have been there. And I say it with pride. I mean, I couldn't have, even when after fifth form, I had the option to go to Achimota or I don't remember the other schools. I decided, no, I'm not going anywhere else. I'm coming back to Presec, because for me that really had transformed me, and I needed to come back to do my sixth form. And to this day, every time I get the chance and I come to Ghana, it's always going to be one of my first stops. Last time I was here with my family, and my sons were, I think, 3 and 5 at the time, 3 and 6 at the time. And when we arrived, Ghana has changed, I will tell you that. And the first thing I did was to take them to the Presec Legon campus. You know, my 3-year-old could barely walk or talk, he could talk, but I was so proud showing them my dormitory and the dining hall and all those places. Right now we're 40 years removed. But anywhere we go in the world and everywhere we show up, there will always be a classmate who will be willing to say, "Charlie, how are you doing?" And they'll welcome you with open arms. And for me, that is really one of the highlights. You know, there will always be an Odaddy who has your back. And we always take care of each other's light to make sure we shine. And that's the best.